Hi, editing Andrew! In this video, you are going to learn why Stoicism is toxic and my response to the APA guidelines for the psychological practice for boys and men. Now, this is a bit of a controversial topic. If you've got anything to say, then just go ahead and leave me a comment throughout this video. Now, if you haven't read that piece of information, let me just go ahead and quickly summarize what the APA guidelines for psychological practice for boys and men, that says and what it actually contains, very summarized. Once psychologists began studying the experiences of women through a gender lens, it became increasingly clear that the study of men needed the same gender-aware approach. The main thrust of the subsequent research is that traditional masculinity, marked by stoicism, competitiveness, dominance and aggression, is, on the whole, harmful. Now, before we can even discuss this, we've got to get crystal clear on what stoicism means. Now, a long time ago, maybe 8 months or so ago, I made a video that clearly defines the difference between stoicism and stoicism, because there's a very clear difference, and I'm going to go ahead and play you that video right now.
You may think that there's just a small difference between the two definitions, but over time these definitions have become quite different. And as Socrates said, you need to understand the definitions of the words that you're discussing before you can start discussing them. Oxford Dictionary says this: the first definition of Stoicism, with a lowercase s, is this: the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. And the second definition of Stoicism, with a capital S, is this: an ancient Greek school of philosophy founded at Athens by Zeno of Citium. The school taught that virtue, the highest good, is based on knowledge. The wise live in harmony with the divine reason that governs nature.
And it's also important to distinguish what most people mean when they use the word stoicism. And if you quickly just do a Google search of stoicism, you'll clearly see that the definition of the non-philosophical stoicism, the stoicism that kind of means bottling your emotions, that comes up first as the most popular definition of stoicism, followed by the philosophy of stoicism that we cover on this channel. So if we're getting crystal clear on what the APA guidelines are saying when they reference stoicism, they are saying that bottling your emotions as a male, whether you're a man or a boy, is a bad thing. They're referring to people out there that are experiencing intense negative emotions, whether it's stress, whether it's negativity, whether it's doubt, whether it's anger, and they're simply bottling them up. They're not expressing them. They're not dealing with them. Instead, they're showing a stoic face where they're simply showing no emotion, and they're going about their lives completely disregarding their emotions and compacting it down and burying it on top of other emotions and simply not dealing with them whatsoever. Now, this is completely different to the definition of the philosophy of Stoicism, which the definition of the philosophy of Stoicism at its core is to distinguish between what you can and can't control and recognize that the things that you can't control, you have no power over. Therefore, you should not be negatively affected by those things which you cannot control. Now, the philosophy of Stoicism is actually a step-by-step method for dealing with your emotions in a healthy way, not simply bottling them down, not ignoring them, but instead distinguishing between what you can control and what you can't control. And if you can't control that thing, then going about the processes which will allow you to not be disturbed by that event. Now, if you want to learn that process, then just go ahead and click the subscribe button, because that is exactly what we discuss on this channel. How you can healthily deal with the emotions that you're feeling, and how you cannot simply bottle them down, but work through them, deal with them, and end up using them to your advantage, or making them disappear with no consequences that'll come down the road. And in short, how you can become happier using the philosophy of Stoicism. Now, I'm going to give you a quick quote that summarizes the philosophy of Stoicism and how it will help you deal with emotions. And that quote is by Marcus Aurelius, and it goes like this: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." So it's clear to see from this that the APA in their guidelines are not referring to Stoicism with a capital S. Instead, they are referring to Stoicism with a lowercase s. And to be completely fair to them, not once in their guidelines did they refer to Stoicism with the capital letter S. They would always use that lowercase s, and they were referring to Stoicism as in bottling up your emotions and not dealing with them healthily. Now, Although they have done this, and although they not once used the capital letter S, that does not mean they're completely in the clear, and that does not mean that they've done any damage. By using the word Stoicism, whether it's a capital letter S or a non-capital letter S, they are polluting the definition of the philosophy of Stoicism, and they are almost removing the value of that the philosophy of Stoicism can bring to people. Because by making such a small distinguishing between the capital letter S and the non-capital letter S, people will struggle to recognize that they are different terms, and will struggle to recognize that in a way they are opposing each other, where the lowercase Stoicism is talking about bottling up your emotions and not dealing with them, whereas the philosophical approach to Stoicism is saying that you must deal with your emotions. And by using the lowercase version of Stoicism, they are polluting the value of the philosophy of Stoicism. Now, Alfsvoid, in her latest video, and if you don't know who she is, you should definitely go and subscribe to her channel, she goes ahead and takes it one step further to discuss why the APA may have been using this word Stoicism. And I'm gonna run that clip for you in just a second, but if you've watched it this far and you've enjoyed this video, then make sure you go ahead and give it a like, and if you're new around here, then make sure you subscribe. But enjoy Alfsvoid's explanation to why the APA may be using the word Stoicism.
Why would an academic institution, or an academic company, an academic business, an academic association be careless with their words in this way? Why would they use the word Stoicism to denote what they're talking about? And upon thinking about it, I believe that it serves their agenda. That is, if the everyday man, the everyday person, in this context I suppose the everyday man, had access to true Stoic texts, to true Stoic doctrines, like for example perhaps Seneca, or Epictetus, or Marcus Aurelius, then they would have their own manual for dealing with and grappling with their own intense emotions. I believe that Stoicism is very easy to understand the way that it's written, especially ancient Stoicism, and is very intuitive, and it's very, very helpful for anyone, regardless of age, sex. So my thoughts on this, on the powerfulness of Stoicism, and on men's sort of natural inclination to be more Stoic, is that, to quote Gad Saad in his recent discussion of these guidelines, men are significantly less likely than women to seek out therapeutic help. So my hypothesis from this is that it is extremely bad for business, right? The American Psychological Association is a business, and it's representative of people trying to earn a living through psychology, right? So how good is it for psychology to have a doctrine floating around which teaches people how to deal with their own emotions without the help of others? Probably not very good, especially not when we live in a capitalist world. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, inherently, but the fact is that we all need to survive and we all need to make a living. And I do think that Stoicism, authentic Stoicism, is a dear threat to psychologists and to therapists, to counselors, because such a doctrine brings back the power of the individual to be able to sit alone with themselves and reflect and try to heal themselves, try to self-regulate themselves without having to pay someone else to tell them how to do it.